Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Continental Club. I'm Patrick. This week I'm joined by Mike McCubbin. I'm joined by James Wayne. It's elite. This is actually the first choice team. We just normally can't put it together. And this week we are discussing whether Arsene Wenger should take over as Bayern Munich manager. This comes from @Amziara Haizan and he says, who should Bayern appoint? I've already decided it's going to be Arsene. Basically, Niko Kovac resigned on Sunday night after his side were beaten 5-1 by Eintracht Frankfurt in a historically bad result for them. It's actually the second time in 3 seasons that Bayern have dismissed their coach before the winter break. Now, Kovac was only in charge for 16 months in the end, obviously did win the league last year, despite that substantial deficit they had over the first half of the year against Borussia Dortmund. Previous bosses as well, a lot to live up to. He had a 69% win percentage. Before that, Heinke 78%, Ancelotti 70%, Pep 75%. And right now they're being managed by Hans-Dieter Flick, a former player, as they look for their 10th different manager in 10 years. You don't actually think of them as a club with that much turnover. But in this particular case, I think it makes sense that they got rid of him. Do you think so?
Yeah, probably. I mean, considering that the start of the season, it's been very mediocre in the Bundesliga, hasn't it? They've only won 5 of their opening 10 games, despite Lewandowski being on such hot form. Obviously, the 5-1 to Frankfurt was the kind of final nail in the coffin. Having said that, 4 wins out of 4 in the Champions League. I think they've got the best. They've scored more than anyone else in the Champions League so far this season. So you can temper it with that. But when you look at the kind of underlying numbers, they've definitely declined. Last season they were at 2.7 expected goals per game, 0.8 expected goals against per game. And this season, expected goals for has dropped to 2.4, and expected goals against has gone up quite significantly to 1.4. So clearly there's been a bit of a decline. Obviously there was a little bit of a few changes in the summer, obviously losing Robin and Ribéry, although their impact was maybe limited last season. Bringing in new players, injuries obviously in the defence. So, yeah, but the thing is, I feel like it was almost inevitable that it was never going to necessarily end well for Kovac. I mean, he was under this kind of pressure last season.
Yeah, it was.
He was obviously Uli Hoeneß's first choice. He was the kind of guy who brought him in, and he was the one who really championed him. And he's stepping down as president, I think this month or next month. So I feel like the writing's kind of been on the wall, and he was kind of saved last year just by that kind of ridiculous run of form that got them back into the title race, which was something like 15 wins.
Exploding.
Yeah, like I think it was something like 15 wins on the bounce or something that they got kind of when he was just after he was at his kind of most pressured towards the end of 2018. So yeah, it kind of feels a little bit inevitable, and it's just kind of shows that I mean since Guardiola was at the Allianz, Bayern haven't really found the right coach. Obviously, Heinke's had to come in after Ancelotti, and a lot of the kind of same complaints that we've seen with Kovac apply to Ancelotti as well. Players not really enjoying the training, kind of a lack of identity on the field.
Yes.
So whoever they bring in next, I don't know. This is a really big appointment for them because they can't get a third manager in a row wrong, I feel.
This is my concern about them, that they sack a guy in the middle of the season and then you think, who is going to come in? But the strongest rumour so far has been Arsene Wenger. What do you think of that? Do you think it's likely to... What's the current state of this rumour? Because I feel like the probability has gone up and down all week.
Yeah, well, we've heard different things. Like personally, I would love it to happen. I'd really enjoy Arsene Wenger back in football. I think most people in football would enjoy that. But yeah, there's been rumours that he has. There's rumours that he has had talks. There's rumours that he's written it off, and there's also rumours that he's going to have another chat with him this weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm going to say I really love Pochettino to take this job.
Interesting.
Because right now is a time where I don't think he will ever have the experience of taking Spurs as far as he's reached the peak already with Spurs. I don't think he can win a trophy with Spurs. I don't think he will ever reach a final as prestigious as the Champions League final with Spurs. So I think for him, it would be a great opportunity to start afresh. And the fact that Kovac, personally, I think was doomed from the start. They've brought in a manager that isn't of the prestige of the previous managers that Bayern like to have. They want the best of the best. They're quite a kind of pristine club in that regard. And I think Pochettino does fit the bill of one of the best managers in the world.
Yeah,
I think right now he's not, well, we know he hasn't been supported by Tottenham and Levy in terms of the signings and whatnot, and he will have that control and he'll be able to. He's happy to listen to Bayern as well. He's taken a lot of stick from Tottenham in terms of being under the thumb of the transfers and how the club operate, and he's still managed to produce. And Bayern Munich like a manager who will listen to them. You know, the board is in control, and they want to have control of the manager somewhat, and give him, let him manage the club, but we'll manage the team, and we'll manage the club.
Well, that's why the Mourinho rumours never really made sense, right? Because you let a guy like that into your side, and he's immediately going to start getting as much power for himself as possible. And a lot of people were saying that about Wenger, but I actually think, with Wenger, he knew that at Arsenal he had the right to do that because he'd done so much for the club. I think at Bayern, he'd probably be happy to say, okay, these are the players I've got, and I will just put together the best 11 I can. On the other hand, their crisis at the moment, insofar as they are in crisis, is a defensive one.
Yes.
Like Sula's out long term, Hernandez is out long term. Obviously, Boateng's got he's going to miss a game, which is going to be the Dortmund game this weekend. So it seems odd to say, right, we need somebody to fix this defence. Arsene Wenger, you're the man to come in. Because other rumours, Max Allegri's been linked, and Max Allegri's sitting out there with no job right now. What do you think about that, McCubbs?
Yeah, he seems like the obvious candidate in some ways, just because of his record at Juve. He seems like a kind of safe pair of hands. Obviously, defensively very sound as well. So, as someone to bring in halfway through the season just to shore things up, maybe. But at the same time, I don't know. Like going back to the Guardiola thing, Allegri is obviously a far more defensive coach than Guardiola. When they brought Guardiola in back in 2013, it was with a view to kind of have a long-term vision of how the club would play, or at least implement that. And I feel like Allegri would kind of, would effectively kind of be undoing a lot of that.
So would you go for a stopgap until the end of the season?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, obviously the kind of one of the more kind of young and exciting choices on offer would be Ten Hag, and obviously he's not available until the end of the season. And again, he's maybe a riskier option. Obviously, he hasn't managed properly in the top 5 league. Obviously, managed Bayern's B team for a couple of seasons.
Yeah,
I think
2013, 2015.
Yeah, so he's obviously a riskier one, but I think in terms of the style of football that Bayern have tried to kind of stick to over the last few years, he would be a better fit. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. He has had a generally pretty good record at the clubs he's managed, but that lack of top 5 experience, despite the Champions League run, may count against it. So it's a difficult one. Obviously, in some ways, Allegri might be a good stopgap, but he's not going to take a job on that basis.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's a difficult one because even whoever comes in, there's not actually a guarantee that Bayern are going to win the title this year. There's not necessarily a manager who you look at and you're like, okay, yeah, they'll guarantee us a title, just because the Bundesliga is so competitive right now. And so I kind of feel like the Bayern hierarchy need to almost accept that in the next two, like this season and next season, whoever they get in, they're probably going to have to, I don't know, that like winning the Bundesliga might have to not be, paramount.
So they can rebuild.
Yeah, because otherwise they're in some ways even like away from rebuilding, just in terms of getting a manager in who can rejuvenate the club at least tactically. Otherwise, I think they're just going to be in the same position this time next year.
Yeah, they need to find the guy to take them over long term. But I mean, it's a very appealing position though, I think, in a way, because despite their issues at the start of the season and the decline, which you pointed out, like they are still the best side in the Bundesliga by expected points and expected goals. And when you watch them, they're mostly dominant, but they're actually they're not unlike Man City in some ways, where they're an incredibly dominant attacking force. They have the lion's share of possession in their games. Then every now and then there is a breakaway counter-attack straight through the middle. And you do worry about that, given that Kimmich playing in midfield has been so vital to their form, but with the defensive problems, he's going to probably have to go back to right back. At that point, what happens in midfield? Do you play Tolisso with Thiago? Do you hope that Martinez can still be a top quality DM, or do you put him in at centre back and leave Kimmich in midfield? Like, these are real issues for them. But I don't know. I mean, as good as Dortmund and Leverkusen and Gladbach and Eintracht are, like, I still look at this and I still think this is probably Bayern's title to lose.
It always is.
Yeah.
It always is. No matter what situation Bayern are in, they are always in contention. I I do think, I was just thinking then when you said the defence is the massive issue, and I was thinking, would Mourinho, because he's quite desperate for football right now. I do feel he wants to be a manager again. I think he said it in an interview that he really misses football. Would he take it as a stopgap? But then again, you've got the issue of that's a whole tactical change.
And he's toxic, man.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing with Bayern. Like a broader thing that's happened is like in the final days of Pep, players were complaining about him all the time. And then in Ancelotti, like you guys were saying, you know, like they were complaining about training. Oh, it's not challenging enough. Oh, sometimes it's too challenging, which it was under Pep. And then with Kovac as well, it seems like there's a load of player power going on in the dressing room. And their backroom staff are always complaining in the media. And Rummenigge and Hoeneß are always going to war with the DFB. And it just feels like there's absolutely no kind of feel-good factor around Bayern. And I do feel like if somebody like Wenger came in, they would just sort of be more cheerful for the rest of the... I know that sounds ridiculous, but you're like...
And it does do a lot, though. You saw it with Solskjaer. Just making people happy does a lot for a team.
And then if they'd gone in the summer, like, I mean, fans wouldn't have liked it if they'd then, like, sacked Solskjaer after, or not given Solskjaer the job after that. But if somebody comes in and, like, makes everybody kind of upbeat again, and then in the summer you say, this is our guy, we're going to get Ten Hag, and we, like, anoint him as, like, the Bayern manager of the future... then I feel like people go into next season super excited and really like wanting to support Bayern Munich. Whereas actually, in a lot of ways, Bayern Munich they strike me as really different from most other Bundesliga sides, where the fans just love being fans. Like Bayern are almost like Barcelona or Real Madrid, where the fans are always miserable that they're not as good as they should be.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that comes with just like what's happened over the last 10 years. Like if you look back into the last decade, there was a lot of chopping and changing at Bayern, and you know, not really getting the formula right, and you know, having to share titles with the likes of like Stuttgart and Dortmund and whatnot. I think I don't know, it feels like kind of it's been delayed, but finally Bayern are actually having to sort out, you know, a lot of underlying problems that were there before, but could be kind of papered over because of their spending power compared to the rest of the Bundesliga and whatnot. So I guess, you know, and you know, I mean, we've spoken about it loads, but you know, whether they can secure Timo Werner is going to be a big thing as well, isn't it? Because obviously Lewandowski is going to age out in the next couple of years.
At some point,
yeah. So so that's obviously, you know, that's almost as big a deal as who their next manager is.
Yeah.
So who renews that attack, but.
Well, I mean, whoever comes into the club is going to have a difficult few weeks because this weekend they've got Dortmund, and also in their next 4 fixtures they've got Dusseldorf away, Leverkusen at home, and then Gladbach away, which is going to be a really big game. But let's go straight into our big match preview, which of course is Bayern versus Dortmund. Dortmund coming into this game on the back of that fantastic result against Inter Milan when they came from 2 goals down in midweek. I think it was the first time they've overturned a 2-0 first half deficit in Champions League history.
Wow.
And it was actually remarkable to see the way they did it, because Conte sides, you know, we're used to it. If you see that game, then you kind of look at it and you think, oh, maybe, you know, Dortmund had like 7 or 8 shots in the second half and 3 of them just happened to go in. But no, they put up 14 shots in the second half, a ton of big chances, and managed to just like rip apart a Conte side in attack, which was pretty amazing stuff. So are you positive about Dortmund coming into this? Like, what are your predictions for this game, the Cubs?
It's at the Westfalenstadion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I think so.
Yeah, I'm kind of been confident, but at the same time, maybe it's the kind of superstitious side of me. I always feel like Bayern will pull out like a ridiculously big result against Dortmund just when it seems least likely.
Sure.
Like, there's been so many like 5-1s, 5-0s, and the fact that they've, you know, just gotten rid of Kovac, the fact that they're coming off like quite a toxic spell, would suggest to me that maybe Bayern might just pull out something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Having said that, the performance against Inter midweek was pretty remarkable. And given that Bayern are, you know, very very shaky at the back at the moment, like that, that front three could just have a field day, couldn't they? So it's a difficult one to call. But I don't know, I'd be maybe inclined still to go for a Bayern win.
I think it's the complete opposite, personally. I think just this game has fallen possibly at the worst time it can do. They have horrible injuries at the back, they've got suspensions at the back, and you've got, I mean, Dortmund's, you know, attack is just exciting. It's exciting, it's producing goals and assists. Everyone's having a great time at the moment. Well, maybe not Paco, but everyone's having a great time at the moment. And for a manager to come in, I know they've got I've forgotten the guy's name, but a caretaker at the moment,
Flick.
but he hopefully has the knowledge of the players enough to. But he has to patch up so much. And this is an attack that, if Jadon Sancho's on his day, will tear you apart, and that's just one of many.
And they're bench options as well, Bayern. You know, like if this is a tight game, like Bayern, what do they have on the bench? Perisic, Müller.
Yeah.
Whereas Dortmund have got guys like Brandt, who's only played about half the available minutes so far. They've got Azar, who's still playing his way into form. Paco, who hasn't played that much so far either. And then Hakimi, who from right back, he's got 6
unreal.
goals, 2 assists in 14 games in the league and Champions League so far this season.
Yeah,
what's he doing?
This hopefully, because I'm a massive, I really like Dortmund, just love the way they operate. I really hope that this is kind of the revenge for last season, the way kind of, they're going to feel like this game is to put us, the stamp down on the season. It has to be, because the way last season crumbled, Bayern really took them apart last season and took the title from them in a sense. If I was a Dortmund player, I would be seeing, I'm going for blood this game personally.
Okay, but obviously they've got to deal with Lewandowski, who is probably, he's certainly the form player in the league. He's one of the form players in Europe.
Yeah, I'd say probably is the form player. I mean, I can't it's ridiculous. He's scored in every single game he's played in the Bundesliga and Champions League so far this season.
Is that true?
Yeah, like he hasn't not scored.
Every single game.
Like when was the I mean, I can't remember ever a player doing that. Messi's never even managed that. Ronaldo's never managed that. He's just just on absolute fire. So yeah, I mean, whatever the result is, I'd back him to score. And I don't know, I just feel like maybe I'm just playing into a narrative that could be a thing. But Bayern obviously sacked Kovac, or obviously they didn't sack him. Kovac resigned, but the Kovac left almost at the perfect time. I think if he hadn't resigned on the weekend, they probably would have got rid of him before this game. Just knowing how important, obviously, these next 3 weeks are going to be, and I don't know. I just feel like the players will react. Obviously the defence is an issue, but I don't know. I just see a massive reaction from those Bayern players, and obviously there is a lot of experience and. I don't know, we wouldn't play down Bayern's attack either, aside from Lewandowski. Obviously, Gnabry's had a really good start, maybe not as on fire as he was towards the end of last season, but still improving massively. Kingsley Coman, has had his longest run of games in years, and he looks really, really dangerous. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to go for a tight Bayern victory. I think with this. I don't know what you guys are saying.
What are you saying, Hammers?
Purely for the fact that I'm pretty sure they played Alaba alongside Boateng last game.
They played Alaba alongside Boateng. They played Alphonso Davies at left back, and they kept Pavard at right back.
I don't know what their back four is going to be, but whatever it's going to be, it could be a mess. I mean, realistically, if actually think about it,
Martinez might be good. Still.
But who knows? You can have Kimmich, Pavard, Martinez, and Alaba, which isn't actually that bad.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
But actually, no, God.
But then you've got an issue in DM.
Yeah, I don't know. I want. Okay, I'll go for what I want rather than what I think about it too much. I want to see a lot of goals in this game, and I think there will be. I think that you can't really stop Bayern when they're attacking. Realistically, there are some players right now. They're in such hot form that they will score 2-3 goals a game, in the likes of Gnabry and Lewandowski. So I think Dortmund will concede at least 1 or 2. But I also want Dortmund to absolutely batter them. So I want to say like a 4-3. Something really exciting. Dortmund win.
Classico.
Nice. I am going to go. Okay, so we've actually just been informed that the game is at the Allianz rather than the Westfalenstadion. Does that change anyone's views? You're still going 4-3 Dortmund.
I'm going to be stubborn.
I think your tight Bayern prediction is a little bit more sensible now.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. Whenever it looks like Bayern are down and out, they're just hope crashers, and but I don't know, man. Dortmund's second half performance against Inter was something I haven't really seen against a Conte side. It was pretty special. So, you know what? I'm going to go score draw 2-2. A Doogie special.
Yeah.
There you go.
He does love them.
Let's move on to quickfire questions. So first up, we have @NapatsFan13. He says, how far can Chelsea realistically make it in the Champions League? Obviously, this is after that stirring comeback against Ajax, but they did go down 4-1 at home, which is not tremendous. And then they had the advantage of 2 red cards. Wayno, Does this make you more positive, less positive about their Champions League?
I don't think they will go. I think they'll get out their group. I can't really see them getting past maybe the quarters if they're lucky.
If they win the group,
if they get to the quarters, I think that's good. That's very good for them because obviously, like personally, I grew up in West Ham. I hate Chelsea, but I really like them right now, and I really don't like myself for liking them. They're a fun side. They're really attacking. They've got young players doing really, really well. Lampard's like impressing everybody, proving a lot of people wrong, and I absolutely love it. But just they concede so much. They concede so much. They'll win a game 4-2, which is great because they've got the win. But when you're coming up against bigger sides who will easily be able to shut them down. There are a lot of sides in Europe that can shut that attack down.
Do you think so?
I do genuinely think so.
I think they're one of they're by the numbers, they're the third best attacking side in the Premier. And actually, weirdly, we're all quite positive about Liverpool. If I asked you how you think Liverpool would do in the Champions League, you'd probably say they're one of the favourites. Statistically, Chelsea are neck and neck with Liverpool in the league.
But that's Liverpool not playing to their best, and I do think Chelsea being somewhat lucky. If you look at the game with Ajax, it was 2 penalties. And they had 2 red cards, and they got back into the game.
Oh, I agree about that. Yeah.
So when you come, Ajax are a terrific side themselves. So, maybe I could be wrong. It is. They've been proving people wrong, and they could easily prove me wrong by tightening up that defence. But I do think that is where they're going to get caught out. It just takes one game where they get caught out badly by just If you do look at those 4 players, with Alonso, who's awful at the back. I really don't like him as a defender. Fair enough, he's great going forward, but he's just not doing it for me. Emerson has come back, but I don't think he's experienced all the quality that Chelsea want. Tomori, I really like him. I think he's got a great future coming up. But these are players that can get easily caught out. I do think it'll be just one unfortunate game where they get battered 3-0 and they can't get it in the next round. I just think that will trip them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think. Especially, to be fair, they're not even guaranteed to go through yet. Obviously, they're neck and neck. Ajax, they're all neck and neck on 7 points. So who knows what happens? So they need to get out of the group first. But then, conceding 4 goals at home does not bode well for like a 2-legged, last 16 clash with a semi-decent European side.
Sure.
But I'll be interested to see that though. Like Lampard over 2 legs, obviously he's had a lot of experience as a player of coming through, real kind of tactical battles. Obviously, with the kind of Mourinho versus Barca, and even Di Matteo versus Barca in 2012. That was a bit of a masterclass, wasn't it? If a relatively unentertaining one, but no, I think I'd say quarters if they're lucky as well. Like it depends who they get in the next round, but even then I could see them maybe coming up against like a top European club in the last 16 and somehow making it through, kind of a la like Solskjaer versus PSG, and then just coming up against like a Real in the quarters and actually getting schooled.
And you look at the Ajax games and you think, okay, if that was like a 2-legged European tie, then Chelsea would have gone through. How many teams are better than Ajax in the tournament and they could get them in the round of 16? Because they can't get Liverpool or City, obviously. And then you think, oh, well, there aren't actually that many. Like Real Madrid have fixed things a bit in the league, but they're not unbeatable, by any means. Barcelona are playing awfully right now, I think. Even Juventus, I think, are pretty beatable. So the one team you really, really, really don't want to get is probably PSG. So if Chelsea win the group, I don't know, maybe they could be kind of... But again, to be honest, I agree with both of you. I think quarterfinals would be a good result for everybody.
I'd love to see. Imagine them winning it. I'd be happy.
The Champions League?
I'd be
shut up.
I'd be so happy.
You wouldn't be happy.
I would be happy.
Why?
Just because it's funny. It's just funny.
Yeah, but then if you want it to be funny, then just root for RB Salzburg to win.
Actually, no, that'd be.
Are you meaning as in kind of just seeing everyone else in the office
No, just more the fact that it's this.
Could you imagine Obaseki
this season?
celebrating?
Oh god, no, actually, no, I would hate that.
Exactly.
I'd hate the people, but I'd enjoy the moment. In terms of the fact that everyone's written him off, it's that whole story.
Oh, whatever. No one's writing them off. Everyone went berserk about this 4-4. People were talking about it like they'd won 10-0. They drew 4-4 at home.
Just the beginning of the season, everyone was just like, they're going to be duh. And they're proving everyone it'd be nice. It'd be nice.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I still want to win it. So.
I still hate Chelsea. I like them more than I ever have done, but I still hate them. Let's move on to the next one. This from @Ollie62. Where should Haaland go in the next transfer window? Now, we've heard rumours that Salzburg might demand I think it was 86 mil for him.
Jesus.
I feel like that's unlikely because
Yeah.
they're not going to get that. I feel like he's going to go to Leipzig for 25. But where should he go? Where do you think he will go in the Cubs?
Oh, I'd love him to come to Man United. To be honest,
jeez.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I mean, where should Leipzig would kind of be the obvious shout, to be honest. Like,
If Werner goes.
If Werner goes, like he seems like a pretty complete forward already. Obviously, like would take some getting used to the Bundesliga. Obviously, much better than the Austrian Bundesliga, but like physically, he's already there. In terms of his skill set, he's kind of nearly there. But obviously, he's generally been fairly untested, although like he's been pretty impressive in the Champions League as well. So I think the most natural step up for him would be to go to Leipzig or just to the Bundesliga in general. But I don't know. Like I'd love to see him just get catapulted into like one of
the best teams in the world.
teams. Yeah, like I'm trying to think. Like,
Well, what about
even, like,
City?
Real
Like
Madrid.
Aguero's not going to be there forever. Let me throw a couple of teams at you. Manchester City, you're a City fan. Or there is a club in Italy which has a striker who is not very good anymore. And his name is Cristiano Ronaldo. And the club's name is Juventus. What about Haaland? Straight over to Juve.
I'd
That
love
would be
to
pretty
see it,
nuts.
though.
That would be nuts.
I think City, it'd be nice because obviously we had his dad as a player. So that would be enough. I don't really see him fitting in. I haven't watched him enough to know, but I know he's a very physical striker who you just don't see. You usually see the strikers of Pep Guardiola teams being like kind of petite, skillful, low centre of gravity players. Not saying that he wouldn't be able to perform at City, but I don't naturally see it.
There was Lewandowski at Bayern, and of course he decided he didn't like him, but he did bring in Ibrahimovic as well at Barcelona.
But my first thought would be PSG, just for the fact they're kind of ushering out of Cavani, bringing him in. They don't really have to change too much because they've already got quite a big physical striker. Obviously they've got Cardi at the moment, but he's on loan, so we realise they don't want him.
He's in outrageous form though.
Yeah,
I think he's going at 1.5 goals or assists a game.
I think him
I
and
didn't know
Mbappe
that
have
was that
scored
good.
like the last 16 goals that PSG have scored. Like no one else has scored any goals.
I mean, that's
Which is
normal.
pretty mad.
But if they do make that permanent, that would be. I think they wouldn't need him then. But my natural thought was to put him in the PSG side because he'd just be scoring like 4 or 5 a game.
I would love him to go to like a really big club though. I agree. I think it would be super fun just to see what happens. Like straight because now in the old days we always said like, oh well, these guys will go to a Dortmund or a Hoffenheim or a Leverkusen and then they'll probably go to a bigger side. Whereas now I think all those bigger sides are realising rather than paying 35 mil, which not that much, but rather than pay 35 mil for Sadio Mane when he's at Southampton, we could pay the 10 mil they paid to get him out of Salzburg.
Yeah.
Now I think everyone's looking at Haaland that way.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's not. I mean, depending on what price tag is on him, potentially he might not even be that big a gamble because we've already seen what he can do in the Champions League. Obviously, it's very, very limited, but like I don't know, if you spent 40 mil on him, and even if he wasn't, you didn't start firing straight away, like it would still go down as like a pretty good long-term investment.
Yeah, because is he 19?
He's super young.
I think so.
He
maybe
loves
even 18.
Leeds. He was born in Leeds.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go to Leeds. That'd be
Join up with Bielsa.
That'd be
there
mental.
are loads of Leeds fans.
That would be so good.
I think Leeds Twitter has been like, it was popping off when he was kind of first.
He obviously
making name
would.
this
But
season.
my God, imagine if he went to Leeds. They'd be in the Prem again.
I'd rather not imagine
Yeah.
that. Well, except that Man United fans would be really sad about it, so that would be quite good.
That is
So-
quite fun,
Yeah. So that's all we've got time for. So that's all we've got time for on Continental Club this week. But seeing as I've got you two here, what should people go over and check out after this?
Well, they should go to Football Daily, where the first episode of a brand new series, Journeyman, went live last Thursday. So go and check that out if you haven't already. Went to Notts County. Essentially, the series is similar to what we did with non-league vlogs, if you were familiar with that on Squad Goals. We go around up and down the country, go to different football clubs, and just find kind of the best stories, speak to fans, speak to players, speak to managers. It's just a lot of fun, isn't it, James?
Yeah, we've got our next one at the end of the month. Very exciting one unfortunately I couldn't go to, and I'm quite annoyed because I was looking forward to it, so should you. But yeah, that was a bit cheesy, and we'll wrap it up there. Go watch Journeyman.
And of course, check out the last episode of The Game's Gone Mad,
Yes.
which is live by the time you're watching this. RIP. And we'll see you next time. Bye.